Here we are at Wynnstay's trial plots, just on the outskirts of Weston Park on the Shropshire-Staffordshire border. We're going to be looking at all the different varieties that you're likely to be considering for sowing this coming autumn. We're now going to look at the hard feed wheats that are on offer this time, starting with two very interesting varieties. Grafton, we all know what Grafton does. Very short, very stiff straw, probably the best variety for early drilling. It's got very slow development and fantastic eye spot resistance. It weighs like lead shot. It's almost impossible to make it fall over. Did have a customer phone me last year and wasn't happy that his Grafton had lodged a little bit on the overlaps. So we were a little bit puzzled by that, but he did phone me back at the end of the year and said it yielded just short of 5 tonne to the acre. It seems to have had its best years, 2 years. It seems to be getting better as a variety. But we need something for early drilling with a slightly higher yield potential on paper. But certainly for high fertility situations or early drilling, it's still the best variety. Moving on to one of the new varieties for this time, and I think Graham has an awful lot going for it. Graham is actually the highest yielding wheat in the Western region, so should suit this area very, very well. It looks fabulous here, I think you'll agree, in the plots. It's one of only 2 varieties with a 7 for Septoria tritici. The other one we spoke about earlier was KWS Siskin, which is a fabulous wheat as well. This is the other one. This is the only other one available with a 7 for Septoria tritici. So it's bound to be popular in the West for that reason. It might do the early drilling slot. It's quite a slow developer. It's reasonably stiff, but it doesn't have the eye spot resistance that Grafton has. So that might need just a little bit of watching. So otherwise it might do that early drilling job. It's quite early to mature, so that's the bonus. It's the sort of wheat we like in this Western region. It's early to mature, it's got good grain quality, it's pretty robust, but it's like Siskin we mentioned earlier, it loses very little in an untreated situation. It only loses 10% when it's not treated. So it demonstrates very robust disease ratings. And I think Graham is a very strong candidate for anybody growing hard feed wheat in this part of the world. We know that hard feed wheats dominate the area at the moment, and it's mainly due to this variety. JB Diego has been massive for us. For the last 3 or 4 years, it's been our biggest seller, and for very, very good reason. It occupies about 1/3 of our wheat sales, our wheat sales currently. So 1 in every 3 fields locally is Diego. Where most people grow it is as a second wheat, and I wouldn't grow anything else. It's so reliable in a second wheat. The information on the recommended list wouldn't leap out at you, but so many people have grown it as a second wheat, and particularly where it's got latitude as a seed treatment, it's proved to be incredibly reliable. And it's that reliability which has really driven Diego to be the variety that it is. It's incredibly, over the last 4 years, it's yielded exactly the same, 102% over 4 very different growing seasons. And that's what it does. It doesn't matter where you put it, it seems to always create the same sort of yield. It could well be just as big this year because of all the yellow rust issues that are going on and making people question certain other feed varieties going forward. People may well just revert back to something they know, and Diego is incredibly reliable. Possibly second only to Diego in reliability stakes is Santiago. This one has been incredibly consistent as well. Hasn't got anywhere near the market share that Diego has, and that's possibly because its grain quality isn't as good, it's later to mature, it's often been tarred with a brush of being a sister line or a similar variety to Kielder, and with Kielder's yellow rust issues people backed off this one, but it's completely different to Kielder. It is a variety that does need a fairly high input regime to keep it clean, but I think it's still a valid option to choose for sowing this autumn. Its yellow rust is certainly manageable. It doesn't seem to get yellow rust, and it doesn't seem to be breaking down to the new strain of yellow rust in a big way. And as I say, it's all about consistency. So decent first wheat, can do well as a second wheat, but its low specific weight will come under pressure there. And as I say, the only thing that really works against it is that late maturity. People prefer something to be a little bit earlier. Here we have 2 very interesting feed varieties to think of for this coming time. Evolution is fairly typical of the recent introductions in the high yielding feed category. It is high yielding, but it's low on specific weight and it's late maturing. I think we'll probably see a resurgence in evolution this time, because it's one of the varieties where its yellow rust resistance has been maintained at a 9, so it's a safe variety to grow. It's a 6 for Septoria, so I think people will be attracted by its yield, and they'll be attracted by its disease ratings, and they'll accept the low specific weight and the late maturity. It does well on light land, it does well from later sowing. So quite an interesting variety, and I think it will sell well this autumn. One of the main reasons for that is the variety we're going to talk about next, which is Reflection, which is a real dilemma. It's very difficult to know quite what to do. As we know, it's been absolutely full of yellow rust in untreated trials this time, and people will go around trials and see that yellow rust and be horrified, and it's cropped up on areas that have been missed in the field. We've got a perfect storm. We've got more yellow rust than we've seen for many, many years. We've had a fairly wet, mild winter. We didn't have the hard frost to kill off that source of infection. So there's more yellow rust about. There's a new race of yellow rust which is affecting Reflection, and it appears to be very susceptible to it. So a lot of people are backing off this variety, but we've got to remember it's 10% of the wheat area. It's 10% of the seed area coming forward. So if everybody backs off Reflection, it's really going to put pressure on the supplies of seed of other varieties. It will come down to how the variety performs this time for a lot of people. We can't lose sight of the fact it's one of the highest yielding wheats. It's early, it's got a good grain quality, and those are the things that people were attracted by last year. It's a very clear message. If you're going to grow Reflection, you only grow what you can spray in one day, and you grow something else alongside it with better yellow rust resistance. So something like Evolution, Graham perhaps, something like that with better yellow rust protection. Some people are decided already they may not grow Reflection again. I think it will depend what the combine tells us, but it's a perfect storm for yellow rust this particular season. Two more hard feed varieties which are both newly recommended this time. I think they're going to develop into niche varieties. I don't think they'll take a big market share, either of them. Belgrade is second in yield. There's only Silverstone out yields Belgrade, and it's very early. It's got the Grafton type early maturity, but it isn't the stiffest variety in the world. It's only rated as 2 6s for standing. For most people looking for a high yielding feed variety, they want something a little bit stiffer in the straw than that. It also has been seen to have a tendency to sprout, and that might be that it's just ready before everything else and doesn't get harvested early enough, but it would need to be given priority at harvest. Silverstone is slightly disappointing because it's a very, very high yielding wheat. It's the highest yielding wheat on the recommended list. It's got very good quality, it's got excellent rust resistance, but Achilles heel is standing ability. It's rated as 5 and a 6 for standing. So it's just too weak for most people to consider. So the only situation you possibly would consider it is in light or low fertility situations where it actually does very well, and it also does very well as a second wheat. So you may consider it there, but it really does need a full growth regulator program. Costello is possibly one of those wheats that you'd fit into what you call the low risk category. It's very good all-round disease ratings, including a 9 for yellow rust, 6 for Septoria. Its yield is slightly better than Diego, but it's only 1% better than Diego. But it does yield consistently well in all regions, and the thing that sets it apart is grain quality. It's got a specific weight of over 80 kilos, which is higher than even Grafton. It's even higher than all the bread making wheats. So useful variety to either have on the farm for yellow rust protection, but possibly if you're growing one of the very high yielding feed varieties with a low specific weight, an area of Costello alongside it would give you the opportunity to blend away should you have problems with grain quality in a difficult year. So if it had a bit more yield, it would be a much bigger variety, but because of its grain quality, I still think it's worth considering.